What if the morbidly obese and their health is severely impacted by their weight? I'm aware this isn't the case for all. If their health needs to improve and they need to lose weight to live a long life, they will need to restrict calories? Nah, fam. Nah, what? What if they're 600 pounds? Nobody gets that heavy through excessive eating. Check your fat phobia at the door before barging in with dog poo on your shoes. Woody 1130 replied, "He's right though. Excessive eating isn't the reason they get fat. It's magical fat demons. People that size often eat less than skinny friends and still gain weight, even though they exercise more than their friends." Although I'm being sarcastic, I've heard all these excuses from people on various documentaries. How diet culture steals your money. Cellulite creams. The amazing appliances. It's a picture of a blender. The protein powders. The healing green drinks. The over-exercising injuries. The tasty diet bars. The shapewear. The clean foods. It's a picture of some spinach and radishes. The wellness books. The home stationary bikes. The not a diet subscriptions. The straight up snake oils. Diet culture is a sneaky thing that steals our money in so many more ways than we normally think. It's not even the food, books, and supplements. It's the aftermath of injuries, doctor's appointments. Let's not forget the subscriptions, memberships, creams, shapewear, fancy kitchen gadgets, and so on. The diet culture, wellness culture makes $648 billion on us every year. The more products they produce, the more money in their pockets and out of ours. And it doesn't even matter if the products work or not. Most of the time when they don't work, they tell us we're the ones to blame, not them. How nuts is that? Can you think of more ways diet culture takes money off of us? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you'd like to support fighting diet culture in your life, see my link in bio. OCR Amazon replied, "We're not allowed to have blenders now? Lordy, it's Mueller time. Or vegetables, apparently." I think the reason thins spew hate at fat folks who love themselves and know how hot they are is because if thin supremacy is abolished, or even threatened, they might have to get an actual personality. Book Hermit replied, "Overeating isn't a personality. Psych beep, burn. Undressed lunch, heartburn." You don't need to lose weight, restrict your eating, exercise compulsively, or engage in any other disordered behaviors to protect yourself from COVID-19. In my last post, I shared that to date, there was no real evidence to suggest that higher weight was associated with increased risks in COVID-19. Since then, 3 new pieces of published evidence have come out, plus 1 unpublished preprint study that media outlets are irresponsibly crowing about before it's even gone through scientific peer review, that seem to suggest higher BMI may in fact be a risk factor. I've pored over these reports and found that they are all deeply flawed, as have many of my researcher colleagues, and I'm currently working on a longer, more in-depth piece to update you all on the state of the science. I can't share any details until it's out, but in the meantime I just want to offer some reassurance to anyone who's at a higher BMI and feeling shamed and blamed by these recent reports. Your body is not the problem. The way our society and our medical system treat bodies like yours is the problem. It's bigotry and it's not okay. You do not need to lose weight, restrict your eating, exercise compulsively, or engage in any other disordered behaviors to protect yourself from COVID-19. All you need to do is what we're already doing to protect ourselves, high risk or not. Stay home as much as possible, wash your hands frequently, avoid touching your face with unwashed hands, disinfect frequently, touch surfaces at least daily, wear a cloth mask when you go out in public, stay at least 6 feet away from anyone outside your household, don't leave home at all if you're sick, and try your best not to panic. I'll have more to share soon, and meanwhile, I'm sending so much compassion to anyone who's struggling right now in the face of these weight stigmatizing reports. The Trank. Can you imagine following this page and trying to talk to a friend about it? The literature totally supports me. Well, it will. It's not out yet, and they can't share any details until it is. Who's they? An Instagram researcher I follow. Part of a team of researchers, actually. They're pretty clear that recent studies linking BMI to risk factors are deeply flawed. No, I can't tell you how. I just said that. They can't share any details about the flaws until their own paper is published. Dieting will not fix your PCOS. Dieting will not fix your PCOS. Nutrition and healing your relationship with food and self-help will. Causing more stress and imbalance to your already stressed out and imbalanced system is not the answer. When we work toward healing our relationship with our bodies and our relationship with food and dieting, we move from stress and restriction into support. I understand the drive to control and diet and restrict and work in order to fix my PCOS and change my body, and it only made things so much worse. Moving into connection and support and nutrition and rest change everything. Are you ready to give up trying to fix your PCOS with dieting and move into support and peace and healing? I'm so ready to work with you. Link in bio or DM to find out how to get started. Alabama Monkey replied, "The only way to fix your PCOS is to pay me." Intentional weight loss efforts have been shown to cause long-term weight gain for up to 2/3 of the people who embark on them. Christy Hansen, MPH, RD. Weight is morally neutral. Being fat is neither better nor worse than being thin, and people of all body sizes and shapes are exactly equal in how worthy of connection, love, belonging, intimacy, respect, happiness, confidence, and other good things in life they are. That said, even if we think fatness is a problem, intentional weight loss fails 95% of the time, and actually leads to weight gain in 2/3 of the people who try it. Note that these numbers reflect research studying results 2 years after the weight loss attempt begins. There is often a lot of temporary weight loss success up front, as you may know from experience, but I'm referring to the lack of sustainable long-term results. This leads to an important question. If trying to make yourself thinner has a very good chance of making you fatter, why the F are we told we should try to lose weight using intentional weight loss behaviors, dieting and exercise to lose weight, by most doctors, nutritionists, personal trainers, wellness journalists, and influencers, and other health wellness professionals? Thinking emoji, thinking emoji, thinking emoji, mad emoji, mad emoji, mad emoji. Note, I highly recommend the book Anti-Diet by Christy Hansen if you want to dive more deeply into this subject. Alabama Monkey replied again, "Let's put this in the context of studying to get good grades. If an F student studies hard and makes good grades, then subsequently reverts to bad habits, stops studying and is back to earning bad grades, the fact remains that their studying worked. These people are incapable of admitting that diets work, but it's the failure to adapt to new habits that ultimately causes their dieting attempts to be unsuccessful." So if you changed your diet to restrict processed sugar, is that disordered eating? Yep. But disordered eating is just negative eating habits, right? And eating less processed sugar is a positive eating habit, isn't it? Any kind of restriction you place on your eating has the potential to be disordered. Practice intuitive eating. But what's disordered? Book Hermit replied, "Eating a sensible diet with plenty of vegetables and leafy greens and eating sugary treats in moderation is disordered eating. Mindlessly eating whatever you crave and whatever amount you can fit it in your body, regardless of how nutrient dense it is, or how it will make you feel later, is the only thing that's not disordered. Got it." But do you see? You are saying that those of you who want to lose weight want to be healthier. You are equating being thinner with being healthier. That is the conflict. Some people, like myself, need to lose weight in order to truly be healthy. At my heaviest, I had very high blood pressure and was pre-diabetic. Is that healthy? I completely understand some people can be bigger and healthy, but some people can't. They shouldn't be bashed and looked down upon for that by the people who don't necessarily need to lose weight. The solution is to address the health issue. Eat with less sodium, avoid certain foods, joyful movement. The truth is that 95% of diets fail. People don't lose weight or put it all back on and then some. And they can't maintain that for more than a few months. And yo-yo dieting and weight cycling are worse than being in a fatter body. But taking care of your health issues and exercise. Going up and down in weight is really harmful for your health and elevates your set point weight, so in the etc. Really now? So because some people have medically watched and ordered weight loss plans, that automatically somehow disqualifies them from being body positive and loving themselves? Also, it disqualifies them from being part of a group that should be welcoming and accepting of everybody in every stage of life? That is ridiculous and asinine. Some people have to lose weight to be healthy. I'm obese myself, and I just got diagnosed with gestational diabetes during my pregnancy, ... Are you my doctor giving advice like that? Do you know me and what my struggles are? Assuming that I can control these things simply by eating differently is honestly ridiculous. Do you know if I'm yo-yo dieting? You're making assumptions that somehow you don't know. Tadpole 511 replied, "Here's my thing about joyful movement, beyond the cringy name. Did they ever stop to think that maybe running a couple miles a day, or tossing around some really heavy weights, or scaling that mountain was joyful to me? These things are just as joyful to me as playing pickup soccer games with my students, or playing Monster with them on the jungle gym, or playing wrestling with them during free time, or tossing them in the air. Okay, so that last one is more joyful for them than for me, lol. Joyful movement can mean different things for different people. Some people love running, others love biking or kickboxing or rowing or swimming or basketball or dancing or there's a million different things you can do that bring you joy, while also giving you a stronger heart and lungs." Grotry added, "Exercise can be plenty joyful, but the thing is, getting better at exercise requires for you to accept a degree of discomfort. How do you get to the point where you can run a light, effortless, breezy 10K? By running a whole bunch of uncomfortable half marathons. Pushing your limits is never a breeze. This discomfort can still be joyful, but only in that masochistic way in which eating spicy things is enjoyable. Everyone still has a point that will make them quit. This is why I hate this phrase, because it seems almost tailor-made to keep them in an unfit purgatory, where they can't get any better. This is especially because if you're BMI 40 plus, there isn't a form of exercise that is going to be comfortable and easy right off the bat. Even walking is going to involve discomfort." Question though, I'm a superfat headed toward whatever is above superfat. I don't see how that can be my set point weight. I've been working on intuitive eating for 1 year. There are so many things as a superfat that I cannot do that I want to do, but I refuse to diet because I know diets don't work. Will I be superfat forever? I'm just fat, but I struggle with similar questions. I'm searching answers with addressing the why of my fatness, instead of focusing on restricting. Acknowledging that my fatness has a reason and helped me to survive in my case, and working on that is helping me a bit. Accepting that I might stay fat and be healthy and happy is another work I'm trying to do. But it's not an easy one. Bowline on a Bite replied, "Will I be super fat forever?" Not at all. If you keep listening to FAs, you will eventually become an infinifat. The why of fatness? You eat too much. I won't even ask you for $49.99 for my online course. Diet culture as we know it didn't really get its boom until the 1970s, and what is known as the American obesity epidemic started in the 80s. Coincidence? I don't think so. The way diets tell us to eat is harmful to the mind and body, and they contribute to weight gain over time, not weight loss. OCR Amazon replied, "There are 4 main factors that really contributed to the rise of obesity, and none of them are diet culture. 1. Women working outside the home, which created a new market for shelf-stable, convenient foods. Fewer people cooking for themselves and are shopping daily for fresh foods. 2. Related, the increased use of high-fructose corn syrup and processed foods. 3. Increased sedentary lifestyle. 4. Massively increased portion sizes. Note, I'm definitely not saying that my fellow women working outside the home was a bad thing, just saying that it helped feed that particular trend at that point in history." Last weekend, Maisie and I had our first vet appointment together. It was my first time ever at a vet, so I'm not particularly experienced, and my head went to an interesting place that I never saw coming. Weird eyeballs. I started going down a rabbit hole of whether or not vets could be fatphobic toward dogs. We already know that many, honestly probably most, sad face, doctors are fatphobic toward humans, and that their foundation of information is flawed. People in the overweight BMI category statistically live longer than people in the normal and underweight categories. So what would prevent vets from bringing that harmful and wrong fatphobic bias into their treatment of dogs and other animals? Picture of dog. Was I supposed to go in and ask if her vet was a healthy at every size practitioner, just like I asked my new primary care physician a few months ago? Should I ask them not to weigh her like I refused to be weighed previously, because weight is not an indicator of health? At the end of the visit, her vet told me Maisie was a bit on the chubbier side and that I should feed her less than I was feeding her. In hindsight, I was feeding her too much. But she had never finished any meal. She always left food in her bowl. Hello, intuitive eating. Shaking hand. We go on 4 walks daily, and one of them is usually an hour-long walk around Washington Park. She doesn't seem to like treats at all. She's only eaten one of the many I've offered her since I got her. And I give her the tiniest bit of peanut butter every day. Picture of peanuts. Starraiser replied, "Overweight people live longer than underweight people." I'm so tired of this argument. 1. The goal is to be at a healthy weight. No one is suggesting you be underweight. The reason it's called underweight is that it is under what is considered a healthy weight. Other groups of people who are unhealthy also have health problems is not a good counter-argument. Some studies do suggest that overweight people live longer than healthy weight people, but research also suggests that the extra 1 or 2 years of life come at a significantly reduced quality of life for a decade or more in old age. Which is to say that obese people between the ages of 60 and 75 experience more chronic pain with an earlier onset than people at a healthy weight between 60 and 75. 3. It's been pointed out many times before on this sub, but BMI is not an indicator of health. Unless you're underweight, then it's apparently the only indicator of your health. 4. I wonder how many advocates of HAES think they're just overweight when they're actually type 2 or type 3 obese. Anecdotal evidence says it's a lot. When you're not regularly weighing yourself, when you have no idea what your BMI is, and when obesity is normalized in your social circle, it's pretty unlikely that you actually understand how big you've gotten. It took a pretty big wake-up call for me to realize that I was more than just chubby. Lampgrass added, on that last point, a pregnancy group I'm in was recently discussing weight. About 5 different people described their BMIs of 31 to 45, and still described themselves as chubby or plus-sized or having a bit of a belly. It was shocking to see a lady who outweighs me by 130 pounds say she was just chubby. Cries in planes, trains added even more. The study that got overweight people lived longer has been refuted many times now. In one of the studies, the authors were not kind to the first group, basically calling them stupid throughout. It's been beaten up almost as much as Wakefield's Vax paper, and honestly the paper should be retracted too. In almost every study that does not suck, overweight people always have a lower life expectancy than healthy BMI. And even in the poopy study, it was just overweight. Obese people still had a lower life expectancy. So the BBC felt it necessary to release a show last night which was essentially encouraging viewers to make food choices in respect of how many minutes it'd take to burn off. If I could summarize my immediate impression of the show, it would be that it felt like some dude had just discovered the concept of calories in versus calories out, got overly stimulated by it, and decided to produce an entire BBC show about it, without considering that perhaps it's a pretty toxic way to navigate your diet for a large majority of people. So in an attempt to give somewhat of a remedy to the harm this documentary has no doubt caused, I'd like to give my own refresher on calories. A calorie is a unit of energy. All foods contain energy. We need energy to stay alive. We need food to stay alive. Yeah, that's it. You can't live your life without calories. You can't get out of bed without calories. You can't watch problematic BBC documentaries without calories. LMAO. Call me bloody old-fashioned, but I believe the sole purpose of exercise should not be to burn off the calories you ate in your tuna sandwich. Now, if you're reading this thinking, yes, but I do want to lose weight. Okay, sure, while simplistic, the mechanism of calories in versus calories out is not untrue. But does that mean it should dictate how we make our food choices? I'd say it's a hard, firm no. By following the logic recommended in the show, you might lose weight, but you'd also lose the joy of movement, ignore a whole plethora of benefits to exercise, only eat food when you feel like you've earned it, and will no longer view a cookie as a cookie, but instead 120 calories and 25 minutes of star jumps. Not so favorable now. I'd talk about how irresponsible it is to release this, at a time specifically when the country is quite literally quarantined to their homes right now. But I'm sadly 2 characters away from my daily rant quota. Basically, I'd say maybe don't watch it. Zealous Coconut replied, how would eating healthy and losing weight make you lose the joy of movement? Do they not understand how much easier and more enjoyable moving is when you aren't overweight? What if because of bed you've gained a lot of weight and therefore are now diabetic and have to lose weight to get healthier? I'm at a loss. It's hard navigating health and an eating disorder. Christy Hansen replied, sending lots of compassion your way. Hard. Navigating multiple diagnoses can be hard. Diabetes is a condition that's largely genetically driven. So although higher weights are correlated with diabetes, I want to reassure you that you didn't cause your diabetes by binging or gaining weight. You also don't need to lose weight to manage your diabetes either. I spoke more about this with fellow dietitian Laura Newman on my show. Cranky with the keyboard replied, I think if Christy really believed her own BS, she would gain 200 pounds and see what life is like for the morbidly obese. Grotchery added, I would settle for her doing an experiment where she walks around with a backpack full of bricks. Strap it the other way around so it imitates abdominal obesity and a bunch of ankle weights strapped all over her limbs. I would love to know how long she'd last, because that'd just imitate the discomfort from the raw weight, while real obesity also has metabolic and hormonal effects, so it's worse, but I still don't expect she'd last long. Trigger word, O word, fatphobic BS, profanity, from me, lol. Reading an excellent article by the New York Times on the pandemic when out of nowhere this sentence happens. The obese and immunocompromised are clearly at risk, but even slim, healthy young Americans have died of COVID-19. Bitch, what? Sentences like this perpetuate lies and add more fuel to the medical fat bias fire. No references, no context. Just throwing effing lies into the article to make slim people feel better. I'm so effing angry. Apocalypse Redo replied, how the heck is telling slim people they are still at risk supposed to make them feel better? A table from a study of 5,700 patients in the New York City area. The most common health problems among hospitalized COVID-19 patients. 88% of them had more than one comorbidity. The other 12% had either one or no comorbidities. The specific comorbidities are 53% had hypertension, 41% had obesity, 31% had diabetes, and 19% had morbid obesity. Something I won't regret added. Before anyone says that the US obesity rate is over 40%, so therefore the obese are not overrepresented, the obese rate in New York City is 22%. So it's roughly a factor of 2 there. It's not fatness that kills people, it's the health conditions that go ignored, undiagnosed, and untreated in favor of medical anti-fatness, STARS. More often than not, fat people are told to lose weight before an evidence-based treatment is prescribed. Surgery, medication, behavior change, therapy, education. We know this from the lived experience of fat people, STARS. This affects people to the point where fat people will themselves avoid seeking treatment from health professionals because they know they will just be told to make a lifestyle modification, go on a diet, lose weight. STARS. Every statistic that states that higher BMI equals lower life expectancy was measured in a population where higher BMI also equals ineffective healthcare. Because that population is ours. In Australia and around the world, there is no healthcare system that treats people of diverse body sizes equally. STARS. A HAES approach gives fat people access to the same level of care that thin people have always had. Because without effective treatment, fat people will die younger. Fat people have been denied the equal access to effective treatment for far too long. STARS, let's save lives, STARS. Impossible Hour replied, do these people not understand that doctors will always try to push the least intrusive way of improving your health, wherever they think it might help? They aren't just thinking about your problem now. They're thinking about side effects, what treatments could mean 20 years from now, and so on. Medication can be powerful, and as miraculous as it can be, also a bit of a blunt tool. I went on a mild dose of antidepressants for 4 weeks, and the side effects were effing with me for months afterward. Not that I'm saying antidepressants are uniquely bad. I wish I could have stayed on it for a while. It's just that I take another medication that makes me dramatically more vulnerable to side effects from them. And they are famous in general for having side effects, especially early on. Sure, your general practitioner could give you an ACE inhibitor if you're 30 with an alarmingly high blood pressure. They also know that ACE inhibitors could make you throw your guts up, give you headaches, F up your renal system, and mess with your white blood cells. So they'd rather you try and lose weight first. Every new clinical intervention is another layer of complication to your future treatment, when there may not be anything you can do except put your body in the hands of a doctor. What if you need treatment later in life that you can't have because of your blood pressure medication or the elevated risk to a diabetic? I got whacked in the face with a diagnosis for a super rare genetic disease at 24 that, when first discovered, killed people pretty reliably by 40. There's an absolute miracle treatment I can have once a week that means I should live, with good quality of life no less, until at least 60, and one person has even made it all the way to their 90s. Guess what one of the major predictors of having a bad reaction to that treatment is? You guessed it, obesity. From Lose It. 622 pounds plus COVID-19 equals horrible. Hey everyone, I've mostly been posting on fat people stories, but I decided this was important enough to make my first post here. I'm only 20 years old, but because I'm 622 pounds, COVID-19 almost killed me. My entire family and I tested positive for the disease. Thankfully, unlike me, my parents and siblings are actually thin and take care of their bodies. So my parents' symptoms were mild and my siblings were straight asymptomatic. I got severe body aches, a 101-degree fever, and eventually had to be rushed to an ICU, where I spent 2 days on a ventilator. I can't put into words just how effing scary that was, and I won't even try to. All I can tell you is that I'm not ashamed to say I cried for my mommy the entire time. I really thought I was going to die, and I'm so blessed to just be back home and typing this. I mean, a 24-year-old obese woman in Utah died of COVID-19. It doesn't matter if you're young. If you're fat, this can kill you. I haven't fully recovered yet. I still have body aches, my sense of taste is just gone, and my energy levels are so low that I literally need my dad and a little brother to lift me out of bed. But at least I'm not in pain and I can breathe. As for my family, they seem to have fully recovered. I was always aware that my obesity was a threat to my life, but coming face to face with the Grim Reaper was the figure it out stupid slap I needed. Prior to the pandemic, I was doing well. My training sessions with my dad were fantastic, and I was actually down 15 pounds. Unfortunately, post-pandemic, I gained it all back and more. But once I fully recover, I am going to get back on that grind. P.S. I want to give a big shout out to my dad, because y'all would be proud of him. Over the past 6 months, he's gone from 200 pounds with a beer gut to now a shredded 160 with visible six-pack abs. Even in quarantine, he's getting his CrossFit sessions done. He's a 50-year-old CrossFitter. Dude's an effing machine and definitely a thinspiration for me to look up to. If you think someone looks better after having lost weight, you are fatphobic, even if the person who lost weight is you, Cal Lil 6 replied. Imagine thinking people shouldn't be allowed to have preferences because it hurts your feelings. From r/suspiciously specific, but it still fits here because of the sheer number of people talking about being beach ready, posted by Joe. The idea that the ideal beach body just means being thin and buff is so unimaginative. Surely the ideal beach body would have a powerful lobster claw, arm flaps to act as a windbreaker, and a sand-repellent anus. What about overweight dogs and cats that have a well-known linear risk of obesity-related disease such as heart disease, diabetes, certain cancers, and joint problems? They don't suffer from weight stigma? Christy Hansen. Animals don't consciously experience weight stigma, but the weight stigma of their owners that causes them to put pets on diets can definitely play a role. Human data shows that weight cycling can explain all excess heart risk seen in high BMI people, for example. Veit Pogner replied, Oh, great. Now she's a veterinarian too. Gorillard added, Multidisciplinary incompetence. So impressive. And speaking of animals, now for r/d chunkers.